Good evening and welcome to the January 16th, 2024 Gilderland Central School District Board of Education meeting. Would you all please silence your cell phones and stand for the pledge? I pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda tonight, I don't see we have a high school rep, so we'll go right to public comment number one. And we have one public comment. This is from David Dwyer. And, yep, you could just go right to the mic. Thanks.
All right, sorry. Basically, is this on? Is this thing on? Okay,
Yeah.
now it is. All right. Basically, with our bonus system for new drivers, it doesn't include drivers that already have experience. So if you're a driver and you're just learning, you get $3,000. That's cool. But for drivers that have 2 or 3 years experience, the bonus doesn't really work for them because, as we know, once you get invested, it's really once you start climbing the ladder, it's not gonna. Everyone else is doing $3,000, and you don't want to lose it. What I'm suggesting is that we have a regular $3,000 for new drivers, and then we have a $5,000 for drivers who have 2 years or more of experience. What we do is after 60 days, we give $1,000 to them, and then after 1 year, we give the rest. That way, we get them to kind of stay. One of the things we've ran into is we train a driver, and then literally a month later, they're like, "I'm out of here. I've got a CDL." And you're like, and it's on us, and it's difficult because then all of a sudden, you lose that driver, you lose that route, and you're going back to subs again, and it's not fun. But that was one suggestion I was thinking of. Another one that we put out there is like either a $3,000 or $5,000 for babysitting. What I'm saying is we give a stipend for someone that has that needs a babysit. That needs daycare. I meant to say daycare, and we pay the money directly to a vendor. We don't just have your mom. You saying that. When we do the same thing, we say, okay, you have to be here over a year. We'll give you $1,000 after 60 days to kind of get them going, and then after the 1 year, we give you the rest. The reason why I think daycare works is with the money, with the $5,000 or the regular money, we'll get older drivers. Now, older drivers I love every team member, but as you know, with older drivers comes other issues, and with younger drivers, just like teachers, the least you're going to have to worry with younger teachers are either sickness or accidents. Nothing terrible, nothing for that's going to really hit you up, and you don't have a young teacher retiring, whereas you have bus drivers that are that this is their second career. Like I was a mechanic. This is my second career. So when I reach 65, I can retire, and I may not be working long as a bus driver, but if I started out at the age of 25, I got some years to go. This way, and if you guys want to do like I said with the daycare, you make a public announcement. Nobody around here has done that, and it'll open a lot of eyes. And people say, wait, they're willing to do this. And we need that next generation to, I won't say step up, but to really say, look, being a bus driver isn't the worst thing in the world. These kids are actually pretty good.
Thank you.
And I just do have one question as a parent. I know in a lot of states now, they're making it a requirement where like in senior years, they teach like life skills for like a semester or something. Do we do anything like that?
I'm not sure what you mean by life skills, like,
Well, they're teaching things like if you're going to rent, rental laws.
financial literacy kinds of things?
Yeah, financially, a lot of things like that.
I think we talked about, there's a business class, right, with personal finance, and I know it's come up in discussion here
Yeah.
at the board before. I'm a big supporter of that, but I don't know if there's any other ones, but I think it's interesting idea to
Yeah.
keep talking about.
Because the in other states, they're actually mandating it that the schools teach like one semester, like you'd have like a half semester of health, and then basically real life where they teach you all about a lot of other things. And I think with that, I think we could probably end up having a quarter for kids in ninth grade to teach them a few things like, with financial literacy, but like with financial aid, and then when they go out as seniors, we teach them more that they wouldn't really need as a ninth grader, but they would need as a 12th grader.
A great idea. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Dave, I don't remember, I just wanted to bring up since Mr. Dwyer brought up these good ideas, creative ideas for the bus driver recruitment. Wasn't there supposed to be a committee at some point to talk about different ideas or ways to recruit drivers?
There is, and we have met.
Oh, okay.
With GEA leadership. We've talked to Transportation Department leadership, Regan and I, and some of the, at least very similar kinds of ideas are being discussed and projected.
Because I don't know the details of the daycare piece, but that sounds like a creative piece as well. I mean, at this point, anything that could work.
And we could probably turn the old district office into like an employee daycare, because if you just look at the building, it's kind of perfect for it. It's the dimensions and
Never been
everything.
inside.
So many ideas for that building.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And then I'll bring up the financial literacy, the personal finance course again when we are talking about curriculum, because I know when Barb was on here, she talked about it. I know we had the business teachers present to us, and a lot of us were really like, do students even know that that's an option? Because they might not be pushed to take that pathway to take those courses, but I hear more and more. I don't know how it would work with mandating anything, and that seems like it would be a lot of pushback, but we keep hearing this more and more from people, so thank you.
15 states so far have mandated it. So like they have so if you maybe look at that, see how they do this, kind of to say, okay, this is how it's done. This might make it a little easier.
Awesome, thank you so much. Next on the agenda, we have the budget development. I'll turn this over to Andy.
Don't know where Andy is. My presentation here.
No, I wasn't sent the presentation.
All right.
Well, Andrew is signing on.
Yeah,
Why
we
don't
can go
keep
down to
going
consent items.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll move down, so I need a motion to approve the consent items. This includes the minutes of the December 5th meeting, the CPSE and CSE recommendations, personnel action, and, textbooks, and also financials. Can I have a motion to approve? Nate, second Gloria. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 8-0.
I think we keep
And
going.
keep going. Okay, so we'll go on to information items, and we'll start with curriculum and instruction. Rachel?
Good evening. I have a textbook for your information that'll be up for board action in 2 meetings. And, sorry, I'm a little behind. The computer is loading. The textbook is Born a Crime, Stories from a South African Childhood by Trevor Noah. And it will be for use in English 10 Aligned, English 10 Regents, and English 10 Honors. And so we will be revisiting that on February 13th. If anyone would like a review copy, let me know and I can get that to you. And I have an accolade for one of our high school teachers. Congratulations to Guilderland High School health teacher Ashley Maxwell, who received an Innovative Educator Grant from Broadview. Ms. Maxwell's application was selected to receive $1,000 for CPR and AED mannequins for the high school health classes. Ms. Maxwell will be recognized at an awards reception hosted by Broadview in the spring.
Great, thank you, Rachel.
Rachel, anything on the, do we get any information on the STEM competition at middle school?
The Farnsworth Group,
Future Cities?
it was posted to social media, and the communications department has it right now, but this is last week's agenda, so
Oh, okay.
we're kind
It
of,
happened after that, sorry.
so we're off cycle a little bit. But
Okay,
they're gonna be
sorry.
doing the story for it.
Okay, thanks.
Next, we'll move on to board president information is a list of policies, A through L. Any questions or comments? Okay, so those will go up, I think, for approval next time. And then we go to action items, which I think also is Andy, so we can, let me see if they can
Can
skip
jump
down.
to me.
Yep, we'll jump down to superintendent action. Dr. Wiles?
So we have two grant applications that we're seeking board approval for to go after. So the first one is a resolution for the Board of Education to authorize Catherine Rachetti, who's one of our social workers at Linwood Elementary School in Pine Bush, to apply for an impact grant through the Community Foundation of the Greater Capital Region. Ms. Rachetti will be applying for the award, which will be used to purchase puppies and training for puppies, as well as working gear, such as beds, leashes, water bowls, crates, and harnesses, and chew toys that are used for the training and stress relief of our facility dogs. So the maximum amount of the award is $15,000.
Great, thanks, Dr. Wiles. Can I have a motion to approve these requests for grant applications? Kelly, second, Judy. Any questions or comments? All-
I think
oh,
that,
go ahead.
yeah, if I could, this is the first group of therapy dogs are aging out. And so we need to get more to start them, and Catherine's done a wonderful
Yes.
job of getting.
So we have 2 dogs who will be retiring at the end of next year.
Yeah.
They have about 10 years of working life.
Right.
Oh,
So we're planning ahead to
And
kind of
it's such
replenish
a
our resources.
wonderful,
my gosh.
wonderful thing. I mean, if you're in the school and just see the way the kids love the dog is so patient all day. Oh,
I think the
That
puppies
is
should
great.
come to a board meeting.
yeah. Did it get approved?
We can arrange that.
We can retire the dogs.
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
We could come to our retirement ceremony.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, Regan, that's not a bad idea.
That's a great idea.
All in favor?
right.
Passes 8-0. Thanks, Dr. Wiles. We'll move back up to the budget development. Andy?
Thank you very much. So today, it's setting the stage for our budget development for 2024-25. I want to talk about fund balance and reserves. We're going to get into the state of our current fund balance and reserves, but first I want to introduce the ideas, make sure we're all on the same sort of conceptual page. So fund balance itself is the amount of money that's left over in the general fund at the end of the year, whether from expenditures being lower than anticipated or revenue being higher than anticipated, but these are sort of the net balance. Now, we are allowed to carry over 4% of the following year's budget as unrestricted unassigned fund balance, whereas we can also or in addition, we can also have money put into various reserves, or we can appropriate money that is, take some of that leftover surplus and apply it to next year's budget. So an assigned fund balance, we'd be using it the current year, appropriated, putting it forward into next year's budget, which would lower property taxes. So in lieu of levy, we would use some of that appropriated fund balance. Restricted, these are reserve funds. There are legally authorized types of expenses we can cover with these. Each reserve has rules about how it is set up, how it is funded, and how it is used. And then there is that unassigned fund balance. That's our contingency money. It's subject to the 4% limit. There are 13 legally permissible reserves that school districts can fund. There are rules ranging from voter authorization to board authorization for their creation and their use. And reserve funds can be appropriated as a source of revenue in the annual budget for appropriate circumstances. So for example, we once had a tax certiorari reserve that was used to pay some of the tax certiorari refunds. We have had a capital reserve. We currently have reserves that are for ERS and TRS expenses. When those rates, or when those expenses rise above a certain level, we can appropriate those funds. Trying to think of some metaphors to help visualize this. Unassigned fund balance is like a financial advisor would tell, a family, a household, that they should have 3 to 6 months of expenses, cash sitting in the bank to cover an unforeseen expense. So something happens to the house, lose a job, illness, et cetera. That's what your fund balance is for. Reserves are when you save up for a period of time for a specific purpose, right? So you can put money in a savings account that you're going to use for a down payment to buy a house. You can fund your retirement. You can set up a 529 plan to fund college expenses, right? So you're creating your own reserve that has its own permissible, in the case of a down payment, you're setting up the restrictions on it. In the case of 529 plans, there are legal restrictions on establishing it, but that was how sort of our reserves operate. Why do we want to have healthy fund balance and reserve accounts? They give us flexibility when unforeseen things happen and arise. So in the last 15 years, we've seen 2 major recessions. One was accompanied by a lot of federal support, one wasn't. But in both cases, having that flexibility prevented very challenging decisions in the immediate onset of the crisis. Having large cash reserves also helps us save money. Investors that buy municipal bonds want to see that they are going to get repaid. So the higher credit rating we have, the lower we pay in interest, which saves money. And it gives us stability in budget planning. We want to have year-over-year tax rate stability. Having the fund balance and reserves helps us accomplish that goal. We have to always be cognizant when we use fund balance and reserves because they are a one-time fund. You never want to use a one-time fund to fund a recurring expense. We are seeing this across school districts nationwide with the expiration of federal stimulus. Right? So districts, the more a district has used federal stimulus to cover everyday expenses, the greater their challenge will be next year. We're going to talk at another board meeting about what we have done with federal stimulus and how we've used it to try to cover one-time expenses, and then recurring expenses we're going to want to discuss. But using fund balance to carefully manage short-term challenges without incurring long-term consequences is the ideal approach. All right, so we can see here use of fund balance and reserves in the district in the Great Recession and its impact. As it went on, larger impact that got decreased over time. The state, in its response to the Great Recession, had phased out state aid to districts through the gap elimination adjustment. And so because of that, districts like Guilderland faced shortfalls in state aid that they had to make up with fund balance and reserves. The impact on the district from those challenges, we were found to be susceptible to fiscal stress by the Office of the State Comptroller in 2012-13 and 2013-14. This is an annual designation or annual score the OSC does for every school district. There are structural criteria, demographic criteria, and financial status of the district that all go into this formula. And getting the lower bond rating that came from being susceptible to fiscal stress resulted in higher borrowing costs. So in 2015, the bond rating was lowered from AA3 to A1. It has since rebounded. Finally, you have fewer options for balancing the budget when your reserves are lower because the state has a tax cap on property tax levy increase. So having fewer alternatives poses a challenge for the district's budgetary planning and long-term trajectory from budget to budget. So this is our current fund balance and reserves. So we are at the 4%, that bottom figure, the second figure, the 4.79 million. Our capital reserve is fairly small. We see our largest reserves are the retirement ones. We have very healthy ERS and TRS reserves, which will come in handy because the ERS and TRS rates are quite variable because they're largely determined by the performance of the stock market. The state invests the retirement pension funds. When the market does well, by and large, the rates go down. When the market is facing a challenge, the rates go up. So our fund balance is share of budget. Right? This is where you take the total amount in fund balance and reserves and divide it by the budget. This graph compares Guilderland, which is the lower line, with our suburban council peer districts, and looks at, over the last 5 years, what is the share of fund balance share of fund balance of the overall budget. We see our peers have seen a moderate uptick, so they're now at 17.1%, whereas we have experienced a decline in our fund balance and reserves. And if you're thinking to yourself, why is this? Well, we're going to talk about that. I created this thing called the fund balance gap. So the last was percentages. This chart, which is in millions, is how much additional fund balance and reserves would we have to be at that suburban council average. We see the big jump this year from 4.09 million to 8.34 million. So that is, if we funded our fund balance and reserves at the same levels as our peer suburban council district, they would have an additional $8.34 million. This gap, 4.2 million over the last few years, is notable because we've paid out $5.7 million in tax certiorari refunds so far. Right? So that is by far the single biggest explanatory variable in understanding why our reserves are smaller than our peers. Because there are general factors that are affecting many school districts. Not every school district experiences this, but there's been the increase in expenses and, in some cases, in some small areas, savings from COVID operational challenges, the influx of federal stimulus to school districts. Districts that were not fully funded in foundation aid over the last 3 years have seen, for most of them, including us, record increases in foundation aid as part of the phase-in. But we've also faced the challenge of inflation. We've talked at great length in the last few years about the impact of inflation on expenses across the board. And then we have even more above inflation, the increased transportation and healthcare costs, and those are hitting our district. And then the specific factor, we have paid out $5.7 million in tax certiorari claim refunds and, face an additional significant refund with Crossgates, which is still in the midst of being finalized. The good news is that will then bring closure for this cycle of claims. All right. So to close with why it's important, recapping some of the points we've made, that having the fund balance lets us smooth out our year-to-year budgets. We can appropriate when available and needed to help us maintain our programming, gives us that smoother ride so we don't have fluctuations which would impact budgets and then staffing, could lead to class size increases, pulling back on extracurricular opportunities. We've seen this in districts as they face financial challenges that reductions have to come somewhere. The tax cap constrains our levy increases. And finally, having a strong tax base and having strong schools is a key contribution to a vibrant community with rising property values. So where do we go from here? Well, this morning, the governor released her executive budget proposal for next year. We've only begun analyzing this, so we're going to do a lot of research in the next couple of weeks before we come back. In-district community input, there will be a thought exchange for all stakeholders. There will be legislative advocacy about ensuring school districts receive the needed funding to address the tremendous amount of challenges we face. All of this is leading up to March 5th when we will and unveil the superintendent's draft budget proposal. Questions, comments?
I just have one question, Andy. So the next meeting, then you'll talk more in detail about the governor's proposed budget?
We should be able to talk in much more detail.
Okay. There was something mentioned on there about the back to basics, something having to do with literacy instruction. I don't know when we talk about it at the next meeting, that if you could talk about that, just to understand what that is.
Rachel and I will both be talking.
Oh,
about this. Normally I would be the one talking about the executive budget, but she will have much more of a role than she usually gets
Thank
to
you.
have.
I'll just point out the community input. We held off launching our thought exchange survey today because we were doing so much communication about the weather. I didn't want it to get lost in the snowflakes. So the letter to the editor went to the Altamont Enterprise today with the link to get to this survey, and then we'll send out the survey tomorrow morning. And it's a thought exchange, but it's in survey form, as we were talking about in the communications committee. So that'll be tomorrow.
I just wanted to mention, and you talked about it, the increased transportation costs, just because we were chatting about it earlier, how important that Tiger Team is to address the transportation issues, which is millions of dollars each year paid to outside agencies that we could be keeping within our organization here. So kudos to getting the Tiger Team together and moving forward. So maybe we'll see the results of that in the next couple of years to 10 years, but it'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. We'll move on, and let's see, we're under.
I can do my other action item while Andrew is closing up his PowerPoint.
Oh, yes.
Because
Yep.
he's got a bunch. My second action item is also a request for approval of an application, a grant application. And it's resolved that the Board of Education of the Guilderland Central School District authorizes Beverly Bisnet-Jenks, an instructional administrator at Farnsworth Middle School, to apply for an argument-driven inquiry grant through the ADI's 2024 Make a Change Grant Program. Dr. Bisnet-Jenks will be applying for the award, which is stated in the application, is used to not only initiate a major change in the teaching and learning of science, math, or engineering that takes place in a district or school, but will also establish an infrastructure that will sustain the change made after the project ends. And we've attached the full application process. But in a nutshell, this is a online platform that engages students in exactly what it's called, kind of argument-driven inquiry. So it looks very, very transformational in the ways that students engage with the learning. And it comes with lots of professional development for faculty as well.
Great, can I have a motion to approve the grant application for Make a Change Grant? Blanca, second Kelly. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 8-0. Thanks, Dr. Wiles. Next, board president information. I have 2 items. The first are list of policies A through L. You can see them here. I think these were up for information last meeting. And can I have a motion to approve these set of policies? Rebecca, second Katie. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 8-0. Next, we have the appointments for the Future Ready Task Force. Can I have a motion to approve the list of representatives, or sorry, the appointments for this task force? Rebecca, second Nate. Any questions or comments about this?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Kelly.
What's in here is not the appointments, it's the charge.
Right above it is it says agenda item printout is the list of individuals.
Sorry, I had the wrong thing.
I don't think I'm on here, Marie. Am I?
No, I don't see you.
All right, we can certainly add you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll vote on it with the amendment to add Blanca. Okay, any other questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 8-0 with the amendment to add Blanca as a board rep. Next, we'll move on to board committee reports.
Well, we
Audit.
have to go back to
Oh, I'm
Andrew.
sorry, I'm so sorry. Seemed short.
We're taking a
Okay.
circuitous route today.
Yes, okay, back up to school business management. Dr. Van Alstyne, go ahead.
Yes, so my first item is a UPK contract with Christ the King to add a third classroom for the remainder of the school year.
Can I have a motion to approve the UPK classroom contract? Nate, second Kelly. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 8-0.
Thank you. My next item is a contract dissolution with Fiscal Advisors, who's been our municipal advisor for many years.
Can I have a motion to approve the contract dissolution? Katie, second Nate. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 8-0.
Thank you. My next item is for a fiscal advisor services agreement with RG Tims Incorporated.
Can I have a motion to approve the contract with financial advisor RG Tims? Nate, second Gloria. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 8-0.
Thank you. The next is a change to the Class of 1971 Scholarship Award, which adds the additional category of military service for eligibility, or for use of the scholarship, sorry.
Great. Can I have a motion to approve the Class of 1971 Scholarship Award? Judy, second Gloria. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 8-0.
The next are services agreement for serving our students with Northern Rivers, and a tuition agreement with LaSalle.
Oh, okay. Can I have a motion to approve the service agreements with LaSalle and Northern Rivers? Katie, second Rebecca. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 8-0.
Thank you. My next item is the results of our uniform mop, mat, and microfiber cloths service bid. The recommendation would be to award this to UniFirst Corporation for a 5-year contract.
Can I have a motion to approve the uniform mop, mat, and microfiber bid? Kelly, second Nate. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 8-0.
Thank you. My final item is a classroom donation from Ashley Castellana of various classroom equipment.
Can I have a motion to approve the donations from Ms. Castellana? Judy, second Kelly. Any questions or comments? Just thank you for the
There was
donations.
just a lot of things being donated in that
Yep.
particular one. Thank you.
All in favor? Passes 8-0. Great, thank you, Andrew. We've done superintendent action, board president action, so we'll move on to board committee reports. Audit, Rebecca?
We have not met since our last meeting, and we don't have one scheduled.
Thank you. Business practices, Judy?
We had a meeting scheduled for today, but there was enough other things standing in the way that we, did not mean we don't have a new time yet. Linda will be contacting us about a new time.
Great, thank you. Next, communications, Katie?
Sure. We met and we went over the applicants for the Future Ready Task Force and looked at the charge to that committee and how we were going to get feedback to the community for that. So we had some ideas that we've just started to work on. We also talked about the thought exchange that will be coming out. And this will be a way, it'll be a survey, but it will help community members and stakeholders prioritize what they feel academically, athletics. There's a wide variety of options of their priorities for the district. Things such as class size, electives, the arts, paraprofessionals are all included. We went over the list to see how that would be presented out to the community. And we have set a next meeting is for this Thursday at 3:30.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Next, policy, Nate?
We did have a meeting between our last meeting, which is why we saw some of those policies that were up for review tonight. We were supposed to also have another meeting tonight, which will be postponed for a later date, to review some older policies. I didn't look at the complete list, but there's a number in there. I'm sure we'll have a number more by the time we meet again.
Great, thank you. And last, DEI committee?
We're meeting tomorrow night,
That's right.
so
Yep, there's a meeting tomorrow at 7 PM.
it'll be online, or recorded, right?
Yes.
They could view afterwards.
Yep. Thank you, Kelly. Next, public comment number 2. Linda, is there anybody signed up? No, thank you. And last, board issues, ideas, and sharing. Does anybody have anything to share? Blanca?
So first of all, the student rep was encouraged by me not to attend tonight because I was worried about the roads. So I just want to take responsibility for that. That student really wanted to come because they're so committed, but I was panicky about the roads. And then I just want to give a shout out to our amazing music department. I attended the extracurricular ensemble concert last week, and it was just fabulous. I felt like I was at Proctor's, listening to adults play, and it was really a beautiful thing. And also remind the community that the Pops concert will take place on February 3rd in the West Gym at 7:30 p.m. We could use volunteers if you have time and are willing, but also we would love it if you could attend, and more information can be found, I think, on Parent Square. That sounds
Probably
familiar.
Parent Square as well as the website.
As well as the website. Great, thank you.
Great, thanks, Blanca. Anybody else for board issues, ideas, and sharing? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Rebecca, second, Katie. All in favor? Passes 8-0. Thanks, everyone.